Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. First things first, quick apology. This was supposed to come out at about 3 o'clock today, 2:30, 3 o'clock. Unfortunately, had a bit of a family emergency, which meant that I was rushed to the hospital for several hours to basically deal with a situation. When I came back, obviously I had to get the live stream out of the way, so you guys are seeing this straight after that. But that notwithstanding, the content must content. Thank you very much for those of you who are obviously tuning in. Thank you to everyone who jumped in on the watch along yesterday. Record numbers for me in terms of a watch along. It's currently sitting on about 1.6 thousand views, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to get maybe 600-700. So the fact it's double that, appreciate it to any and everyone that did stop by, and to the super chats. Jack Knight, Emma Willis, you guys are legendary, so thank you very much. Now let's talk about what we saw over this weekend. We'll go to obviously the I guess we'll start off with just bits of the undercard for the Ring of Fire, talk about the top rank card a little bit, and then I guess we'll end it with our thoughts on the big main event of the weekend, the one talking point. So the first one I really want to speak about, obviously you had Joshua Wahab against Mark Chamberlain. First round knockout for Chamberlain. I thought it was arguably the highlight of the weekend in terms of how he actually sent Wahab to the ground. But as I said on X, I can't give Chamberlain huge credit for that one because he was fighting a naturally smaller guy. Like Wahab is a guy that competed the majority of his career at super feather, and he also, I think he started his career at featherweight, whereas Chamberlain's always been a natural 135, and I think he actually started his career a bit north of that, closer to 140. So yeah, even though it was perfectly executed, and he got the job done, congrats to him. But yeah, first round, I'll be keen to see what happens next. He got a little trinket title out of it, so we'll see what he kind of gets up to moving forward. But he's still he's an action fighter. He's a good guy to have on the cards. After that, there was Moses Atalma. I don't remember the name of the guy he was fighting. I think the guy was I think he might have been Polish, or if not Polish, like Bulgarian. One of those countries, forgive me. Again, we're talking I think it was second round KO there for Moses Atalma. That also was a very nice looking KO, the way he ended up getting the guy basically on the canvas, and the way obviously he got up. He did manage to get up, but the referee waved it off because his legs were gone underneath him. He got up way too quick, didn't have balance, and yeah, I think it was Howard Foster in the ring, and he waved it off pretty much immediately, which is not to be, not a surprise at all. After that, move on to, I guess, the main portions of this card, and it started with Frank Sanchez against Ajit Kabayel. Now, this is one that I got wrong. I got quite a few wrong yesterday, to be totally honest. It does happen on occasion. The big ones, the big fights, normally those are the ones that I will predict right. But this one, I thought that Frank Sanchez and Ajit Kabayel would both try and play the pure boxer aesthetic to start off with Kabayel basically getting on the front foot on maybe the second half of the fight to try and push the pace, and it would allow Frank Sanchez to be able to manage and maybe win one or two of the later rounds to sort of to get through a unanimous decision victory. That's what I thought would take place. That's not what happened at all, because Ajit Kabayel decided, I like being this front foot pressure fighter. It works well for Makhmudov, and I don't think you hit as hard as Makhmudov does, so I'm not even going to circle the ring in the first couple of rounds. I'm coming straight forward. He came on the front foot from the start, and he was backing up Frank Sanchez. Sanchez did well in the first round, but you could see from that second round on, that constant pressure was just starting to get to him. He was starting to wilt. And even though he was throwing decent in spots, some of those body shots were starting to come in. Both of them were just now grabbing hold of each other, kind of leaning on each other. And it looked a bit messy, especially through sort of the first 3 to 4 rounds. But then from sort of round 5 onwards, you just saw the game plan from Kabayel, everything to the body, like just staying in front of Frank Sanchez, just not allowing him to breathe, not giving him a moment to set himself. And Frank Sanchez was just he just regularly just, you know, on the ropes, sort of trying to throw counter shots off of the ropes and just sort of taking damage to the body. We saw that he did have a bit of a knee brace, a knee sleeve on his right knee, which obviously suggests that there was some kind of injury that took place, which also will suggest that maybe there wasn't the same amount of cardio or road work done that is usually done for him. His legs are already quite skinny, like in terms of calves, sort of calf to thigh ratio and all of that stuff. So to have such a boxy frame up top, not really much on the legs, plus not really being able to do road work. Maybe that's the reason why, even though he still had this six-pack, he looked even more boxy and square up top than usual, because he didn't really have the ability to strip down that weight. But Ajit Kabayel coming in, like, was perfectly conditioned. He's not necessarily a body beautiful guy, but his gas tank, his engine is never in question. He's very quick, very explosive in his movements. And you look at the size of his legs, you look at his calf muscles, like he's built like a rugby player. So you just know that he's, you know, it's going to take a lot to hurt him in his foundation. Like, he's definitely got a solid frame, and he applied all of that all the way up until the point where we managed to put Frank Sanchez down for two times in the 7th round. And Sanchez basically, he decided he didn't want no more. He quit in that 7th. He decided that, yep, I'm not getting up off of this. And ultimately, you got Ajit Kabayel, who's become almost the boogeyman to the boogeyman, because Frank Sanchez was seen as a bit of a boogeyman. High risk, low reward. No one wanted to really fight him. Makhmudov was kind of seen a bit of the same way. Well, you know, Ajit Kabayel, he is I guess you maybe call him the boogie keeper, because he's just keeping the souls of these boogeymen left, right and center. It'll be interesting to see what he does moving forward. I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to Ajit Kabayel, and that might be the last time I pick against him. He showed me enough in his last few fights to suggest that the frailties I thought he had as a younger fighter, it doesn't look like he's got them anymore. So shout out to him. After that, we had Joe Cordina against Anthony Cacace for the IBF and I guess the IBO super featherweight titles. Now, I was making mention that at both the weigh-in and today, like, Joe Cordina was looking very, very good on the scales. Obviously, I don't know if he had to do a ceremonial weigh-in, and that's not how he actually looked when he first jumped on the scales. I'm assuming it was probably ceremonial, but he was looking good. Like, his face didn't look gaunt, it didn't look dry, sucked in, his eyes looked clear and lucid. I thought, oh, he's actually made the weight very well this time, but he had stated this was going to be his last fight at 130, unless a unification could be made or a really big fight with another champion. Well, he probably should have stuck to his original guns after he beat Rakhimov and said, right, I want to move up and challenge, I guess, the champion up at 135 immediately and use maybe my IBF belt as a bargaining tool, because it definitely seemed like he had little to no punch resistance, especially from the 3rd round on. Now, look, in the 3rd round, there was a bit of controversy where the referee had called, he said to stop boxing, and he repeated it. And on the time when he had repeated it, Joe Cordina had sort of stuck in a little bit of an arm to Cacace. He caught him with a little bit of a shot, but the referee had clearly finished saying stop boxing at the time when Cacace catches him with a clean left hook with Joe Cordina's hands down by his side. Obviously, as he's stop boxing, he's breaking the action. Now look, first rule in the ring is protect yourself at all times. So his arms should have been by his chin anyway. That's, you know, so we're not excusing that, but that is something that looked like it took something out of him, because even though he didn't necessarily react to it then in the moment, after that, every single punch that Cacace threw hurt him. And I predicted that Cordina would win this fight via stoppage around about the 8th round. Well, it was role reversal on this one. Now look, Cacace, I felt neither guy is like the biggest of punchers, but Cordina has shown himself to be a bigger puncher in the bigger moments in his career than what Cacace had. I mean, look, he was, I think he was 22-1 at the time with 8 KOs. That doesn't lead me to believe that you're going to win this fight against Cordina by KO. So that's the only reason I didn't pick it in that favor. I did say that if he could get a good start early, then he could build up a lead and maybe have Cordina chasing. But I just felt Cordina would be able to find that punch to get him out of jail and ultimately take it out of his hands. But lo and behold, it was the other way around. He decided, even though he was the taller of the two with the longer range, he wanted to stay on the mid-range. He wanted to stay on the inside. He was trying to catch and counter on the inside, but that only works if you haven't got someone as a volume puncher on that you're facing. And ultimately, he was facing not only a volume puncher, but a guy that could not miss the inside uppercut from both the lead and the backhand. Cordina was just getting lit up with uppercuts left, right, and centre, like round after round. Ended up getting face planted in the 5th round. I think it was the 5th round when he got face planted by Cacace. Got up, managed to survive that round just about. Did decently in the 6th, actually came back quite strong. I believe it might have been face planted in the 4th. I think it was the 5th round he came back with some decent work, and in the 7th, all of a sudden in the 6th, he was trying to fight with Cacace again. But Cacace just basically circled around, got his composure, just came back to that inside and just started working volume punches again. And Cordina couldn't get the read of these punches. So they're in close in the clinches until finally it gets to the 7th round. And Anthony Cacace just catches him again. Boom, onto the ropes he goes. Cordina's just kind of trying to cover up on the ropes, but Cacace just barrage of punches left, right, and then to the point where the referee jumps in and waves the fight off, and Cordina loses the belt, loses his undefeated streak, his unbeaten record. I actually don't know what's going to happen if he's going to stay, because he said he was only looking for the big money fights next anyway to secure his family and then kind of keep it moving. The fact he doesn't have a belt to bargain with at 135, and he said he only wants big fights. Is he going to be prepared to, take a warm up or have to go the hard route to get himself to a mandatory contention to fight someone at 135? If we're talking about the IBF, he is looking at Vasyl Lomachenko. Is he going to even get that shot? I highly doubt it. WBC, Shakur Stevenson, that one might be an easier route to get to, especially considering that Stevenson, there's big talks that he potentially could be moving to Matchroom after his next fight with Artem Hatatunian. So that one maybe has some potential, has some validity if Cordina can get maybe another fight in and then go into that, or maybe might even be able to parlay straight into a title fight up at 135. But I can imagine, does he have the willpower and the hunger to want to go that route? I don't know. I don't think he does. We'll wait and see. But at this point, well done to Anthony Cacace and well done to Frank Warren, because so far, even though it isn't 5v5, but you got Queensbury officially up on the scorecards. So it's up to, Eddie Hearn and his team and his band of merry men. They've got a week to regroup, and then they got to go again for the 5v5 taking place on the 1st of June. So now the stakes are raised. This is very interesting. This is going to be a fun time. Now, with that notwithstanding, go to the co-main of, as chief support, not even co-main. Jai Opetaia versus Marius Briedis for the vacant IBF title, although realistically it was Jai Opetaia's belt. It was his title. He was the IBF champion. Now, a lot of people said that Jai Opetaia was gonna knock Marius Briedis out. I was one of the few that said, nope, it's not gonna happen that way. So this is definitely one of the ones I got right, and I got it right to the T, exactly as the fight would play out. I said that Jai Opetaia is gonna what is gonna fight on the outside primarily in this fight. Uses height advantage, uses speed advantage, and basically pick Marius Briedis off from the outside to try and soften him up. Not looking to engage, especially early, because Marius Briedis, he wants you to engage. That's his best opportunities to get his shots off and to win the exchanges and to win the fight. Jai was going to box smart, and I also said I believed that even though he is a true warrior and you can never question his heart, somewhere in the mind he could potentially be thinking, this is the guy that broke my jaw in 2 places. I don't want to get into any situations where I can give him the opportunity to potentially do that again. And so if you look at the way Jai was fighting, it was very much safety first. It was aggressive, but it was like safely aggressive. I'm only going to throw when I'm certain something's going to land, or when you're far enough out of range that even if I miss, you can't retaliate. And that's pretty much how the first sort of 8 rounds played out. And Jai just coasted. He coasted the first 8 rounds quite comfortably. The 9th round is where it sort of started to change a bit, where Briedis, he started to move on the front foot a bit more, and Jai started sort of moving a bit more on the back foot, trying to box off the back foot. And Briedis was building up a little bit of pressure, a little bit of steam, almost like, okay, I think you've worked sufficiently enough now, so now I'm going to see you're not moving as fast as you were before, so I'm going to try and break the distance and see what I can get done. He lunged in a few times with some shots that didn't really land or didn't reach the target in time, but obviously he's just starting to apply that little steady pressure. Then if they start getting into some clinches, I think there was a head clash that came in which disrupted Jai's nose in the 10th. Also some punches ended up coming around both the sides of the guard, to the front of the head also. And you saw Briedis' nose, I think Jai broke his nose in the 7th or the 8th round, or I don't think he broke it, but the nose was bleeding, I think, in the 6th, and then they managed to stop that bleeding all the way until the 9th round, where it started opening up again. But then Jai's nose opened up in the 10th, and then all of a sudden the fight became Briedis' fight. And it was a situation where I'm trying to think, I gave Marius Briedis one of the rounds in the first 8. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the 3rd round. I think it was the 3rd round. I'll double check. Obviously, I've got my scorecard on Twitter, so I can have a look there. But yeah, I gave him one of those rounds, and then from round 9, rounds 10, 11, and 12, I gave to Marius Briedis as well. So I had this. Eventually had it 116, 112 at the end. 2 of the judges agreed with me. I don't know if they gave him the same rounds that I did, but and one judge had it I think it was 117, 111. But yeah, overall the right person won. Jai did have to come through I won't say a mini crisis, but he had to come through a tough period at the end of the fight, just as I predicted it would be. And I said that at worst case, you will get Marius Briedis managing the rounds at the end just to make sure he doesn't get stopped. But in the end, he flipped it on its head and he came out. I thought he would come out aggressive early. He waited. He tried to enact his game plan late in the fight. And he was, to be fair, Jai was unraveling a little bit. To the point where maybe if there was another round in there, it may have gotten a bit worse. But ring management, ring survival tactics, hit and hold, not allow your opponent to work. He did all the things that you need to do as a champion to secure the victory. Shout out to Jai Opetaia. I know some people have felt, does his stock drop based on this? I say no. But again, I didn't predict he was going to knock out Marius Briedis anyway. So the fact that he went the distance isn't a surprise to me. I know what Briedis is made of. No one's done to Briedis. Now, Briedis has never been off his feet as a pro. He's fought at heavyweight before and not been off his feet. He ain't been off his feet as a cruiserweight. He's just a tough guy. You don't take Marius Briedis out like that. He said before this was going to be his last fight, win, lose or draw. I hope it is, to be honest, because to have a record of 28-3, and the only people you've lost to are reigning champions, one of them who's now both the undisputed cruiserweight and undisputed heavyweight champ, and the other guy is basically the successor to the cruiserweight and potentially heavyweight division. That's a very good resume. So I'd like to see him sort of hang up the gloves, but it's not my choice, and whatever he does choose to do, I'll support. Outside of anything else, he's value for money. You know that if you get in a fight with Briedis, he's giving it his all. And he ain't coming to lay down. He ain't coming to just be the gatekeeper. He's coming for war. He's coming to take your head off. So I got to respect guys like that. Also, fellow Capricorn like myself. Shout out to Briedis. Now, before we talk about main event of that card, move over to Queensbury Top Rank. I'm going to talk about a few of the fights on that card. So you had Richard Torres Jr. against Brandon Moore. I did predict that Torres would get the KO in that, and I think I predicted the 8th round. I think he ended up getting the stoppage in the 9th. So yeah, I got that one right. I thought that Moore would have sort of some advantages in the initial stages, being the taller, rangier guy, but he would just get sort of worn down towards the end, and lo and behold, that's kind of what happened. If you then look at Santillan versus what's his name, Brian Norman Jr., Giovanni Santillan, this one I got wrong, but I got it wrong from a perspective of Santillan has the more experience at the higher level than Brian Norman Jr. does. So even though he's got a punch, he's been knocking out relatively lower level opposition. But I've seen some of his fights, and like I said, he's athletic, but he's a bit more crude in his approach. I haven't been able to watch the full fight yet, because I fell asleep a couple times trying to watch it. I did try to watch it on a couple of occasions. I will watch it back in time for the breakdown. But I've seen the finish, and yeah, the way that Norman Jr. took Santillan out in that 10th round, nasty. The way he fell down, the way everything. I need to watch it again, but I need to do a bit more research on Brian Norman Jr. Like I said, I felt he was a bit crude in spots in previous fights, but I need to maybe have a bigger deep dive into his career, and because I did not expect that to happen. Not like that. I thought the fight was going to go the distance. I thought Santillan would win on points, and if I'm not mistaken, I do think he was up on the scorecards at the time of the stoppage. So I need to double check, but yeah, that's shout out to him. Now, finally, main event of that card, you had Emmanuel Navarrete versus Denis Berinchyk, and I said in the preview that I felt Navarrete, the advantages that he's had previously, he wouldn't have in this fight. He's facing a naturally bigger guy who's taking bigger shots, 50% KO ratio, so it isn't like the biggest puncher, but is a good solid mover and can really sort of upset and disrupt Navarrete. The reason I picked Navarrete to win, number one, obviously outside of being the house fighter, but I thought that because Denis Berinchyk has been known to sort of be a bit of a one-paced individual, just works kind of consistently at the same pace, whereas Navarrete has always been a lot more of a volume puncher than Berinchyk has. I felt that he would basically just be able to outwork him for more of the rounds. I knew he wouldn't be able to stop him because Berinchyk, number one, I said, bigger, used to taking bigger shots. Like, obviously, I'm not saying because he's Ukrainian that means anything, but he's just more well schooled. Obviously, Olympic gold medalist from the 2012 games, the same as Usyk and the same as Lomachenko. So he comes from a very deep amateur background, schooled. I've watched the fight, but I've watched it kind of intermittently. Like, I've fallen asleep, I've woken up, I've seen rounds, I've tried to go back. I haven't watched it in full totality to be able to give a scorecard. Again, we're talking, this was like 4:30 in the morning when it was taking place. So, but from the rounds that I saw, I did see Berinchyk kind of getting the better of those rounds. And they were sort of like the more of the later rounds. So I can see how he ended up winning the fight, split decision. Again, I thought Navarrete would get it because he's the guy, and obviously he's the one that's going to sell the tickets. he's definitely got to get himself a nutritionist to start making these weights properly. Like, maybe he needs to go back to 130, get a nutritionist to get his weight under control, because he looked fleshy at 130, he looked fat at 135. I'm just going to keep it real. And all of those advantages that he used to have, he don't have none of them anymore. So even if he is able to win fights there, he probably, against the elite guys, the best of the best, he's going to get found wanting, because he's just not big enough to make all of his natural technical deficiencies masked as he was at the lower weights. But good, congratulations to both guys. Both put on a pretty good performance. I'd actually like to see that fight run back potentially down the line, not right now. But now Berinchyk, he's got the WBO. Vasyl Lomachenko's got the IBF. Gervonta Davis has got the WBA, and Shakur Stevens has got the WBC. Let's see if some unifications can't get made. But moving to the main event of the Ring of Fire, Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. Now, I know a lot of you guys is waiting for me to talk my shit as I have been known to do, as I did on the stream yesterday. You would have seen that on the stream. We had the fall of fraud. That's where you're going to get a lot of that. You're also going to get it on the boxing debate. If you guys have watched that already, go back and watch that as well. On this one, I want to keep it a bit more measured. Just talk about the fight itself, how the fight played out. So everyone knows I had Oleksandr Usyk winning this fight. I always had him winning this fight for the last 2 years. I've never seen any way that Tyson Fury could beat Usyk, especially this yo-yo balloon up and down Tyson Fury. So going into the fight, I'm saying, all right, I'm going to score this fight. I'm going to be as totally objective. I'm going to be fair. And I'm going to, I'm not going to look for rounds to give Usyk. If anything, I was more looking for rounds to give to Tyson Fury, because everyone, if I'm more on Usyk's side in terms of who I prefer as an athlete and as a boxer, then I'm going to try and judge you more harshly to try and counterbalance the quote unquote bias that I might show. So looking at the fight, first round, from the first thing you see is Oleksandr Usyk lands the backhand to the stomach. That's the first shot he lands, is a backhand to the stomach. Then he followed up by jabs, sort of jabs to the ribs, jabs to the side, backhands. He just basically lightened up Fury's midsection throughout the majority of the round. Fury on occasion is throwing a couple shots here and there. Not really many of them are getting through. They're all hitting gloves, hitting the guard. Very few stuff's getting through there. To me, it was a quite conclusive Oleksandr Usyk first round. He also, the highlight of that round was him hitting Tyson Fury with a large backhand up top to the head off of the ropes, which it jostled Tyson Fury. He tried to play it off like it was a nothing shot, whatever afterwards, but the shot hurt, and it was the most conclusive shot of the round. So with all the body work, gave the first round to Usyk. Second round was pretty much a lot of the same. Usyk's just walking forward, keeping that pressure on Tyson Fury, making him have to flick out the jabs, making him have to feint, still getting to the body, beating up the body consistently. Fury didn't really get much off in that round either, as far as I'm concerned. And again, gave that round to Usyk. Third round, Fury did much better in the third as he did in the first two. He did manage to throw a few good power shots into Oleksandr Usyk. But again, for me, Usyk was the cleaner puncher. Again, investing downstairs to the body. Did catch him up top a couple of times as well. Broke the clinch on a few occasions. I gave that round to Usyk. Now, round 4, 5, and 6, Tyson Fury really gets in his bag. He starts to counter with counter uppercuts, both to the body. He's banging to the body, both sides of Usyk. He's knocking him back with jabs and sort of clubbing right hands. He's managing to also grab hold of him a couple of times, push him off, and he's just basically pushing Usyk back a little bit, making Usyk have to work. Usyk is circling the ring. So 4, 5, and 6, all Tyson Fury. Round 7 was an uneven round. Usyk did a lot of good work in there. Fury did some good work in spurts, but I felt that Tyson Fury landed the harder shots throughout the round more successively, and to the point where it looked like he did hurt Usyk, I think, with a uppercut in that round as well. It could have been the 6th, but I think it was the 7th. So I edged the 7th round to Tyson Fury. Said, okay, you're going to take that one. Round 8. In round 8, Oleksandr Usyk breaks Tyson Fury's nose and just applies pressure on him again. Fury is now again moving around more on the back foot than the front foot, like he had been in the other few rounds. He's looking a lot more uncomfortable, looking a lot more unsteady. Round to Oleksandr Usyk, 4 rounds apiece. Round 9. Tyson Fury is actually doing quite well in this round. For the first 2 minutes of the round, he's doing well, but Usyk's obviously on him. He's managing to find a couple of shots up top. He's finding some shots to the body. Tyson Fury is managing to sort of hold him at bay, keep him at bay, and he's getting a little bit of showboating here and there, and you think he's managing the round to the point where you're almost ready to give him the round, until we get to 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the round. So Usyk's been working, Fury's been working, getting a bit more of it. Boom. Usyk goes with the right cross, which grazes, comes back with the big left hand cross to the jaw, spins Tyson Fury's jaw. Fury is all at sea, legs are gone, bounces into the ropes. Usyk pounces on him, throws some shots behind the guard, around the side of the guard. Fury tries to get off of the ropes. Usyk is just not letting him go, just teeing off on him. Tyson Fury ends up falling into, he gets caught with another big shot, falls into one side of the ropes. Usyk's chasing him round. He's swinging, but Fury's managing to evade some of these just due to his sheer size, leaning over the back of the ropes, but he hasn't evaded all of them. A couple of them graze until he gets caught with another big shot. Spins, does a full 360, spinning around the ring, round to the other side of the ropes, gets pinged again from those side of the ropes to the other side, gets caught again, and then basically ends up falling into the ropes. And Usyk's there in his presence, and it's almost like he decides to show some mercy, and he stops, because the referee manages to jump in, but prior to the referee even getting into position, there is every chance for Usyk to land another straight left into Fury to probably take him out on the ropes then and there. But he stops, the referee jumps in, and he gives him a standing 8 count. He's supposed to ask him to bring his arms up, but he doesn't actually do that for him. So there, the bell goes. Fury manages to get back to his corner, and then credit to him, even though Usyk didn't fully step on the gas in the 10th round, Fury managed to recover quite well. 10th round, Usyk he wins that round. 11th round, this is what I predicted, that Usyk would actually stop the fight to begin with. He's working diligently to Tyson Fury. He took a bit of the temp off to try and get some energy back, but Fury's managing to sort of come back into it a little bit. But ultimately, again, I give that round to Usyk. Round 12, Fury's now actually getting a lot better and a bit stronger in the fight. Usyk's pushing the pace a bit. He's working consistently. Fury's landing some good shots in spurts, in bursts, but Usyk is just consistently following him around the ring, stopping him from being able to, to get that respite. He's just forcing him to have to throw. And ultimately, Usyk, to me, takes the 12th round as well. I know some of the judges gave him I think all 3 of the judges gave Fury the 12th. That's fine. You guys he can have that if you really want him to have that round. No problem. But to me, it was another clear Usyk round. So to me, to have my scorecard, 111, 116 to Oleksandr Usyk. But if we're going to be totally honest, the fight should have been stopped in that 9th round. And this isn't sour grapes or anything like that. Ultimately, the person I predicted to win would win. I thought it was going to be a knockout anyway. And if we're being totally honest, I've never seen a boxer get pinged around the ropes for 20 seconds from one side to the other with their arms down, not throwing back, not protecting themselves, taking clean shots, legs all over the place, can't stand up properly, falling into the ropes left, right and center, and the referee doesn't jump in to wave that off. If you think about it, even though obviously he went down 3 times in his fight with Terence Crawford, Errol Spence wasn't all over the place in that time when he got stopped by Harvey Dock in the 9th round. Like, he was hurt and he was wobbled, but he wasn't wobbled the way Fury's wobbled there. Powers of recovery or not, and previous track record, You can't tell me that fight shouldn't have been stopped then and there. It's not the same as, oh, he's on the ground and you're giving him a count and he gets up and you're like, all right, I'll let you see it out. Like, he's literally taking 20 seconds of unanswered punishment, undefended punishment. He has no legs underneath him. But I'm not going to complain about it. Obviously, the fight ended up going the distance. So maybe in hindsight, you say it was the correct decision that you did let him carry on. And maybe his previous record preceded him, because I'm assuming if it was Carl Froch, they probably would have done the same thing and let him see it out as well. But look, right person won for me. The scorecards, I've got an issue with a lot of them, if I'm being totally honest. I said the scorecards that I would, if I saw these scorecards, I wouldn't moan, was 111, 116 to Usyk, 112, 115 to Usyk, or 113, 114, if you really want to be generous to Tyson Fury and say maybe he got 6 rounds. I said I can imagine them giving him 6 rounds because, let's be honest, everyone in the industry wanted Tyson Fury to win that fight. You can't tell me that Usyk had anyone on his side realistically. It was all about Tyson Fury to win so that him and Anthony Joshua could go to war after the rematch happens in October. Everyone wanted Tyson Fury to win. Everyone claimed that there's no way they can see Usyk winning, apart from some of the more smart journalists and the smart YouTubers like myself, who just apparently know boxing better than the professionals. But outside of that, I could see 2 rounds in there where you give those to Fury just because it's Tyson Fury. So then we get to the scorecards. 113, 114 to... No, the first one, 112, 115 Usyk. Okay, to me, I can see that. That's totally fine. Then we get 114, 113 to Tyson Fury. So you want to tell me that Tyson Fury won 7 rounds in that fight? I've watched the fight 4 times. Literally, I've never watched the fight back so many times. And partially that's because I want to see the 9th round. I'm not going to lie to you. But I've seen that fight 4 times. And every single time, I've even tried to find more rounds to give to Tyson Fury. And the only one I can potentially look at is the 12th. And possibly the third. That's been absolutely generous. And both of those, I don't believe he won either of them. And I think the punch stats back me up on that as well. Not just the jab, we're talking like power punches, percentages landed, all of that stuff. None of that supports. Plus Usyk, we're talking about, I think it's like a 42% accuracy for Usyk or something like that throughout the entire bout. Every round he was more accurate than Fury. He outlanded Fury in 7 of the 12 rounds overall. He outlanded him in power punches in 8 of the 12 rounds, and he outjabbed him in 4 of the 12 rounds, considering he's the guy with the shorter reach and the and the height disadvantage. So if he outlanded him in power punches in 8 rounds, outlanded him overall in 7, outjabbed him in 4, where do you find 7 rounds to give Tyson Fury? 6 is the absolute maximum I will allow someone. But even then, I think you're just being generous because you maybe had money on Fury, or you just thought Fury's going to win. That's how I've looked at it. But anyway, so Fury got the 114, 113 card. And then the final card was 114, 113, or 113, 114 to Usyk, which is obviously 6 rounds apiece plus the knockdown. Ladies and gentlemen, the fix was in. If we're going to be real, it was everyone kept saying this is going to be a controversial draw. It's almost like they knew the script from the start. Both guys stay on their feet. It was going to be a split decision draw for the rematch. No one actually gets the Undisputed because the IBF belt is going in a couple of weeks' time. And then you run it back, but no guy gets to be Undisputed, but you get the 2 fights. That's probably how they was looking at it to go. Usyk had to take it out of the judges' hands to a degree, and you could say he was robbed of doing that in the 9th round, but ultimately he did take it out of the judges' hands with the knockdown. So even if you wanted to give Fury the 6 rounds, unfortunately 6 rounds wasn't enough. 7 rounds may have just about done it. And to be honest, maybe that judge actually wanted to give Tyson Fury that round initially, because again, I had Fury doing quite well in that round up until the point when obviously he got pinged all over the ring. So you maybe could have given that round to him, in which case it might have been 7 rounds to Fury on a generous scorecard, or at least like a genuine 6. So yeah, Usyk had the entire boxing world against him on that one, including possibly Turkey, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and every other promoter that has a bit of a vested interest in Tyson Fury at the minute. But he said, you know, screw your plans. Like, my will and my mission is stronger than you. And again, he's gone to show that when you do things the right way, when you dedicate yourself to something and you go about things in the best way possible, ultimately, like, justice and sometimes justice prevails and justice is served. And maybe this is some karma thing when it talks about, well, Fury's yo-yo up and down. He's got the talent, but does he try it? Does he, live the life? Does he work hardest? Well, now it's maybe come back to bite him. People say, well, the best version of Fury beats the best version of Usyk. Well, a lot of people said this was the best version of Tyson Fury. They said, oh, look at him in the weigh-ins. Look at the face. Look how in shape he looks. He looks in great shape, doesn't he? Yeah, so according to them, this was his best version. And Usyk, this is the same Usyk that got dropped by a body shot by Daniel Dubois. Oh, he's getting on in a bit. Is he frail? Is he starting to? So I don't really want to hear about, is this the best version of Tyson Fury? Maybe this is the best. Maybe this is as good as it gets for Tyson Fury right now. It's the best version he can possibly be at this moment. Potentially. Can he be better than he was last night? Now, I don't think so. But I'll leave that to you guys to decide. But yeah, congratulations. What I will say, congratulations to both men in terms of making it out of the ring safely. I don't like what Tyson Fury said at the end of the fight, that his country's at war, so they gave him the decision because of that. Like, that's a dickhead thing. That's sore loser, that's sour grapes. However, maybe he was concussed. Maybe that's legitimately how he felt, or maybe he couldn't keep the mask on, which he hasn't really been able to do for a while. Outside of that, he gave the necessary praise. He says he thinks he won the fight. I think you go back and you watch that, you realize, nah, you didn't win that. I think I see a Hatman video said that he had it 8-4, same as me. I know Cali X as well. Shout out to Cali X. He had it 8-4, same as I did. Ring IQ had it 8-4/9-3. I haven't checked all the other videos yet and stuff, but as far as I'm concerned, my scorecard was correct. Several people had the exact same scorecard as me, so I feel confident in that. But yeah, shout out to, but ultimately the right person won. Justice was served. Usyk is now #1 pound for pound in the world. I'm not arguing with anyone about that. Don't tell me about Crawford. Don't tell me about Inoue. Don't tell me about Canelo. Don't tell me about anyone else. Usyk is literally the definition of what pound for pound is. Can the little guy with his skills go up and beat the big guy? If everything was equal, who wins? Well, he overcame the height, he overcame the reach, he overcame the weight, and he overcame the quote unquote generational best heavyweight that we have, apparently. I've obviously got my views on that. You guys know what my views are, and I'm sure you would have seen them on the stream earlier on. But yeah, that's how I'm going to leave it. Usyk makes me proud. I'm not gonna steal Ring IQ's slogan, but you guys know what he will say. He'd say, Usyk makes me proud to be Ukrainian, and that's saying a lot because I'm Dominican. Yeah, so shout out. But anyway, look, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Leave your comments down below. I will get back to everyone when I get a moment to. More content coming throughout the week. Don't forget, if you haven't watched the boxing debate show yet, make sure you go over and watch that on the channel as well. The live stream, again, thank you to everyone who watched that. And I will catch you on the next bit of content. But until then, peace.